the Agape Centre, along with other food banks, produced a report, Voices United, to speak about poverty and food bank use. Joining me now to speak a little bit more about it is Lisa Duprau, Executive Director of the Agape Centre. Welcome back to the show, Lisa.
Hi, Gabe. Thanks for having me.
All right, so let's start off with a little bit of background about the report.
Okay. So I sit on a committee with other EDs of local food banks and SD&G Leeds Grenville. We meet on a regular basis, discuss different issues in our community around poverty, hunger. So in 2019, a survey was distributed for people that access our services. We wanted to do the survey to give people that don't sometimes have a voice, to find out what their needs are and what they're looking for, what they're not getting. So this was, this report was a way of, giving them a voice. So the questions that were asked surrounded food insecurity, housing, employment, transportation. So the report is a result of all those questions.
All right, and one of the key findings, of course, and we'll talk a little bit more about it too with when we get to the recommendations. But one of the key findings was definitely that food bank use among recipients of ODSP and other social assistance is really a huge chunk of that pie.
It is, and the ODSP rates are not high, and it's difficult for people to make ends meet. It was very clear in the results of the survey that people skip meals, people are hungry on a regular basis in order to get their bills paid. People skip meals to pay bills, so that was very clear.
Absolutely. I think that was one of the most alarming parts for me reading the report, was just the number of people that said that they went a whole day without a meal.
Yes. Yeah, it's shocking. And you don't know, it can be somebody who lives next door to you.
Absolutely, and of course you alluded to bills as well, and that's another key as well, is that sometimes people are literally choosing between food and paying their bills.
That's right. And I mean, some of those families are working families. I think, it was 22% of respondents work part-time or full-time jobs. And they're still short at the end of the month.
Absolutely. Now, the report was presented to elected officials, so maybe you could tell me a little bit about that and how that went over.
I was not at that presentation, but invitations were sent out to local officials, and so the report was presented, and then we did our own press release to the public.
And now there's three key recommendations, so maybe we can go through them and what this committee is looking to see from the release of this report.
Right. So the first two recommendations we adopted from the 2019 Hunger Report from Feed Ontario, and those deal with having the social assistance match the market basket measure, just to make cost of living easily attainable for people, increasing EI rates, WSIB rates. The second recommendation from Feed Ontario was to keep the definition of disability to include people that have debilitating illnesses, that they would not be excluded because they need assistance as well. The third recommendation was ours, and we encourage all levels of government that when they're making decisions, that they do it through the poverty lens, that they're taking into consideration people in our communities that are vulnerable. So you're looking at, do they have access to nutritious food? Do they have affordable housing? Do they have transportation? Do they have employment opportunities? So that was our recommendation, that all levels of government need to take that into consideration.
And when we talk about that, we know that the importance is there because, from a food bank's perspective, even before COVID-19, we did see a rise in terms of people using food banks.
Absolutely. And with COVID, I mean, it's, it's much more prevalent. I mean, we've had business owners that, have lost their businesses over the last, few months and need us.
Absolutely. So, talk to me a little bit about the importance as well of just this collaboration amongst food banks in the region, because we know obviously each center and each city might have their own specific challenges, but at the end of the day, hunger is a problem on a bigger level. So talk to me about the importance of that collaboration and the work that the committee's doing.
Well, it's nice. I mean, we meet on a regular basis and, we're there to support one another. And, sometimes when funding comes up, we can collaborate on funding and we share in that. And, sometimes if we have excess of food coming in and, we can share it with the other food banks. And so it is nice to have that support.
Excellent. So any final thoughts, Lisa, on the report? And before we go, just to, if there's one thing that we hope to leave with viewers, and obviously the decisions are being made by politicians, so the report was presented to them, but if there's something to leave with the public about all this, what would your message be?
Well, I think we need to be mindful of, the vulnerable people in our community. People need help and we're there to assist people whenever they need it. But it has to be it's a community effort. And I must say, I mean, Cornwall has been so supportive of the Agape over the last few months. I mean, it's absolutely impressive, but it's something that has to continue. I think COVID has just brought it to the surface. It's more visible right now, but it's always been an issue.
Absolutely. On that note, Lisa, thank you so much for joining me and enlightening our viewers on this report, and thank you to you and the entire committee for all your hard work and putting it together.
Okay, and if anybody in the community would like a copy of the report, they can contact me at the Agape Centre.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Lisa.
Thanks, Gabe.